And right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Katie Greifeld taking you through to that closing bell with a global simulcast. We're joined right now by Carol Massar in the radio booth alongside Tim Stenovec, who's lost a little bit of hair. Actually, it looks like Matt Miller filling in today for Tim Stenovec. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, including our partnership with YouTube. A down day, Carol Massar here on This Money, though we should point out, probably best described as a bit more of a holding pattern as a lot of people wait for the Fed's meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah, what indications do we get in terms of rates going into 2026? I mean, basically the rate cut on Wednesday, it is definitely baked in already, but it's really the outlook, the summary of economic projections and more. But I also think, is there a point where people are like starting to dismiss what Jay Powell has to say because he will not be there for the entire year of next year?
Does it become a lame duck?
Yeah, I don't know.
It will be interesting also to see if he actually is there, because remember, he could stay at the Fed.
Wouldn't that be wild
after,
if that's what
being
happens?
chair.
Yeah.
Although
could
I
happen.
would probably just want to chill after that, after this kind of stressful.
Go fishing in Montana?
It's been
yeah, I would ski.
Okay.
It's been a trying couple of months, certainly.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. Miss you.
I miss you, too. It's so nice to be joined together on our global simulcast. I'm most interested to see what yields do on Wednesday. We've been talking about it all show, Romaine and I, how you're seeing that divergence between the Fed's policy rate, what the long end is doing, and whether or not we're going to see that gap continue to grow.
We get the closing bells here in New York. I was just saying a little while ago here that stocks were off the session lows. We should point out a couple of huge block trades just coming in across the tape right now as we get closer to the bells, and that's causing a bit of a bump higher, still in the red for the S&P, but a bump well off those lows here as we close out the session on this Monday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down more than 200 points or 0.4%. A similar percentage drop for the S&P 500. The NASDAQ Composite down about 0.1% here on the day. The NASDAQ 100 down about 0.25%. And the Russell 2000, that's your outperformer. It had been oscillating between gains and losses on the day. It looks like it's going to finish just basically at the waterline in the red, but only down by, it looks like, just less than 1 point.
All right. Yeah, small move there. Hey, back to the S&P 500 I go. Most names, though, in that index lower today. About 345 names losing ground on this Monday, 157 to the upside. And Katie, you've got one unchanged.
Let's take a look at the circle and take a look at the sector level, because it's broadly the same story, if not a little bit more dramatic. You do have one important slice that's green, and that is tech. NVIDIA, your biggest points contributor to that sector, up about 0.9%. But you take a look at the rest of the sector landscape, 10 sectors finishing in the red in terms of which was your worst performer today. Communication services down by 1.8%. Materials and consumer discretionary also finishing in the red as well, Carol.
All right, a lot of red there. So let's get to some of the individual gainers. No surprise, a big story today in the media sector had to do with the race to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, if you will. Warner Brothers Discovery finishing off its highs. At its highs intraday was up 8%, but it is the number one gainer in the NASDAQ 100, number two gainer in the S&P 500, finishing the day up about 4.5% here. You know the story. Paramount Skydance launching a hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery, $30 a share in cash, and that's just days after the company agreed to a deal with Netflix, the offer valuing Warner Brothers at $108.4 billion, including debt. I mean, the race is on, the bidding is on. We'll see where this one lands. Paramount Skydance, that was your number one gainer in the S&P 500. That stock up 9% in today's session.
The differential between what Netflix is offering and what Paramount is offering is phenomenal to me. And I'm trying to think of the last time we saw a major merger and acquisition deal where you had two bidders that far apart in terms of what they were offering.
It's interesting. I'm sure you talked to Geetha Ranganathan today. I talked to her as well. She points out that the Netflix bid at $27.75 also includes the spin-off of the cable assets, which they valued about $4.
Right.
So that's actually a $32 bid.
Yeah.
A little bit more than what you're getting from Paramount at 30 even. But if this deal is quashed and then Netflix has to fork over the $5.8 billion breakup fee, then gets the Paramount deal, it's far more money.
Yep, a lot of
for
moving-
Warner Brothers,
a
for
lot of moving
Zaslav.
parts. And it ain't done yet, so we'll continue to keep an eye on that one. Hey, Katie mentioned NVIDIA, certainly some help in terms of supporting the equity trade. That one finishing off its highs of the day, but still with a 1.7% gain. We did see Semaphore coming out, citing a person with knowledge of this, that NVIDIA will soon be allowed to export its H200 chips to China. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said to support the plan, again, according to Semaphore. So some outperformance in that name. And just one more chip name I want to mention, Broadcom. AVGO is the ticker. It's the number 4 gainer in the NASDAQ 100. Saw some reporting on this that Broadcom was up on a disputed report that Microsoft is in talks to move its custom chip business. Information reported late Friday that Microsoft is in discussions with Broadcom to design future custom chips, which would be a move away from its alliance with Marvell. Marvell.
But a disputed report.
A disputed report. So anyway, but Broadcom shares up about 2.8% today.
We should point out Broadcom expected to report earnings this Thursday.
Yeah, it's up about 73% year to date as well. Yeah.
All right, here are some of the losers. Netflix obviously is down again today. This is a puzzler to me, and I don't know if you guys have figured it out, but when Netflix put in its official bid last week, it was down. And in fact, it's been down every day for 4 trading sessions in a row. When Paramount comes out with a hostile offer, it's up.
Yeah.
So it's like Paramount investors want them to spend over $100 billion, please. And Netflix bidders are like, or investors are like, that's maybe too much.
We were actually just talking about this. We didn't land on a conclusion, but Romaine did point out that you take a look at Paramount shares last week, just what they were doing on Friday, Thursday. They haven't exactly climbed out of this hole, but I do also think it's curious, Matt, that you are seeing shares rise 7% on a hostile bid, but go figure.
So Air Products is another one off today. Air Products down after it said it's working with Yara International out of Norway to establish a long-term partnership on a pair of ammonia projects in the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. Potentially a sale in the works there, and that's what has investors selling the shares. Procter & Gamble shares, not a huge drop in P&G, but a couple of different analysts at Barclays and at Deutsche Bank said that they've met with executives at P&G recently, and they were encouraged to bring their estimates down, so that's not great news. And then Marvell Technology, those shares getting decimated today after a benchmark company cut its recommendation to a hold from a buy on expected lost business from Amazon. Also, they're being pressured after the company was not included in the newest additions to the S&P 500 index, and we love those rotation trades.
Absolutely here, and also looking, it was interesting too to see quite a few of the retailers down here on the day as well as some of the holiday spending data continues to come through. I do want to draw our viewers' attention real quickly to PepsiCo. We had a headline across the Bloomberg terminal that PepsiCo was telling its North American employees to work remotely this week, and that it's anticipating changes that, in its words, could, quote, affect some roles. The Wall Street Journal now out with a report seemingly tying this to that activist campaign by Elliott Investment Management, an activist campaign that Bloomberg has been reporting on quite frequently. And it does appear that some of these cost cuts are going to be tied to that, about 20% cost cutting across the board. Not quite sure exactly how that stacks up in terms of the number of employees or the potential cost savings, but we're going to try to dig a little bit deeper, guys, and get you some more information on that.
Yeah, right now we're seeing, as you mentioned, PepsiCo unchanged here in the aftermarket. All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Hey, one of the things that Matt and I think we're keeping an eye on, although he might.
Why are you two staring at each other?
He might go rogue on me.
Did you guys talk about this?
He might go rogue. No, we didn't.
Oh.
We didn't. So we're going to get to what is one of the most read stories on the Bloomberg. I think it's in the top 20. But it was
in the top 20.
It was a red
K-pop demon hunters?
It was a red sticky when it crossed.
Mark Wahlberg?
All right. No, we're not doing.
Oh, I can't wait. Is that just 20 minutes time until Mark Wahlberg comes on?
Stop.
450 actually. So
Jimmy Kimmel extending his deal with Walt Disney's ABC for at least a year. So they're
Jimmy
bringing
Kimmel? I thought he was canceled.
No.
Surprise.
Oh.
No, remember that whole,
I don't,
snafu,
actually.
and he was off the air, and then he was brought back, and certainly the White House watching.
What was the snafu? Explain it to me.
No, I'm not going to do it.
Oh,
Just
okay.
go to the Bloomberg and read it. Okay, but anyway, Walt Disney's going to bring him back for at least one more year under a new one-year deal with the ABC network.
It's interesting to look at the details here. Apparently, Kimmel and Disney agreed on this extension months ago, but they delayed announcing their plans out of respect for fellow late-night host Stephen Colbert, who personally I love, one of my favorite comedians. But we know that CBS announced in July that the Late Show with Stephen Colbert will end in May of 2026, which is also when Fed Chair Jerome Powell will, step away from being Fed Chair.
Maybe they'll do something together.
I would love that.
Powell and Colbert. I don't get
That
like
would
the
be
whole
great.
late night thing. Is that still a thing? They don't make money. Do people really watch it? Do they bring guests in? Is it important for a network? Kimmel was hilarious when he was taking kids' Halloween candy away. But since then,
Yeah, I don't know if it works as, a live program, but certainly, you think about SNL as well. A lot of people find those clips on YouTube after the fact or on TikTok.
What should they
dare I
run
say.
at night, Matt?
What should they?
late night,
Should they just go back to like bars on the screen or play the
should
national
probably-
anthem
yes,
like when we were
exactly.
kids?
When I was a
It's 10
kid,
p.m. Do you know where your
TV
kids
just
are?
ended at a certain time, and then
I
there
know.
was static or bars.
No one knows the struggle, Matt.
All right.
Yeah, there was nothing to do at night.
But no, now we stream stuff, right? Now I'm watching YouTube all night, so there's no need for live broadcast.
yeah.
I think their commentary has
What
some
YouTube
value.
videos are you watching? Let me guess. I assume it's a lot of car